the half orbital with more flow equalization and value engineering, and in the area lagoon with the Sager and the tertiary filters. At the working group meeting on the 27th of July, they basically had resolved to go ahead with those two options, correct, to present to the various councils. Just on the Class EA, because Class EA is a big part. You've already gone through a Class EA. We dealt with the public on this. We did talk to the Ministry of the Environment, and their comments were that they felt that if there were any changes in the project, that you should do a Class EA. And that to me, that's a really gray area, because what the Class EA document talks about is that if there are changes in the project that affect the environment negatively, you should do an addendum. Well, by reducing the flows, are you affecting the environment negatively? I don't think you are. But the ministry sort of came back and said, you know, we think that it would be nice to go out and talk to the public, because they complained there wasn't a lot, you know, they complained about communication, and this would, at least this going out and doing an addendum would help with that. Now, the addendum is basically a public meeting. You go out, you basically present to the public and say, okay, this is what we've done. We changed the size of the plant by doing this, this, and this. We made a few changes here on process. We did some value engineering, and this is what we've come up with. We're not going to service areas 3 and 4, that kind of thing. The nice thing about the addendum is that you can basically very much limit what the public can comment on, right? So they can comment on whether they like or didn't like you making the plant smaller. They can't comment on should we have a plant or not, because that was already dealt with in the previous EA. So the addendum very much puts a box or a frame around the questions back to the public. And the ministry also said that if you're going to make it smaller, tell the public that they're potentially going to be building a second phase without funding in the future. BCF, we talked to BCF, and as far as we're concerned, all the options that were shortlisted will meet the BCF guidelines. Really, BCF, the application focused on effluent criteria, and all of the options that we looked at will meet the effluent criteria that was specified in the EA. You will have to go back to BCF with basically what they call a scope change, and then of course they said, well, we can't comment until we see a scope change. But in our feeling is that all the options that we've presented to you or shortlisted to you will meet BCF guidelines and be fundable. FCM, again, we have to have further discussion on them to make sure that grant's still valid. The largest benefit, again, is the effluent criteria. Because you're putting a mechanical plant into a tertiary mechanical plant, your effluent criteria definitely improves substantially. So that's the biggest benefit, and that still is preserved. We were also recommending that you keep the sludge wetland, which was part of the FCM grant. Some of the other items in there, you're getting $1 million FCM grant, but there was $1.6 million worth of sort of green technology. So you can look at, as part of that value engineering, maybe we're in the solar PV system, that kind of thing. And that basically is all I have for as a presentation. I'm quite willing to take questions and wherever you like, I'm here. Councilor Elman.
I don't know if you want to start with me. I've got a few questions, if that's all right. Mike, I appreciate this. I'm just an old retired phys ed teacher, so some of this tech stuff, I need to get my head around it.
Okay. No, if I've made it complicated.
No, I just have to get some clarification on some of these things. I guess just a couple of quick questions and then some more detailed ones. I mean, basically what we're looking at here, like on page 148, you talked about all of these other things, these kind of miracle cures or whatever. You guys have basically rejected those. So I guess,
Well, we didn't reject them, we sort of said, okay, you gotta look at the big picture
Right.
first. And all those other things are kind of, they're, I wouldn't say, they're detailed, they're like the design build, like you could do this as design build, you could, you know, as an example, like.
I guess I'm just talking things like Blue Frog and all of that kind of stuff. I mean, you're basically concurring with opinions that we received in the past.
Yeah,
Basically, is
for
what
the
we're
most
saying.
part, yeah. Yeah.
Then my second question, you're talking about an orbital plant.
Yeah.
And I guess basically the technology other than, and I've got to ask you about flow equalization and value engineering just to get my head around that. But basically, we're looking at the same technology as was previously recommended to us, albeit smaller.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. I guess the next question is this flow equalization thing.
Yeah.
And you're talking about using one of the lagoons
Mhm.
for that craft to go in.
Yeah.
Okay, so that will take the peak flows. Now, of course, you acknowledge or indicate that yes, we are a special case because of our seasonal
Yeah.
nature here. So all of that is going to sit there in this lagoon in the summer months. And I guess I'm looking at, we had a pretty warm summer this year and 35, 36 degrees for many, many days and pretty hot, humid weather. I guess, can you guarantee to us that this isn't gonna stink?
Well, is it stinking now? Like, that's what's happening now with the
Well,
current
it
lagoons.
won't.
Yeah, that's what's happening
Can you,
now.
I mean, we're gonna spend a lot of money
Yeah.
here. Is there a guarantee or isn't there? That's all I'm
Well,
asking.
there's no guarantees on anything. Like,
Right,
it will
okay.
produce, there'll
Okay.
be algae grow and all that kind of
Well, that's
stuff that we have to deal with, but.
Okay, alrighty, then I want to ask about the value engineering, and, you know, I went through all of that, and, like in the past, sort of, we've taken some pride in Lambton Shores in having a LEED certified building, and
Yeah.
have done some pretty innovative things in terms of energy efficiencies. So I guess, basically, value engineering is removing or stripping those green energy efficiencies. And I'm just wondering, was there a cost analysis done of the potential payback of those efficiencies? Or could that still be done?
That could still be done. I mean,
Yeah.
that's all part of value engineering is
Yeah,
you look at all that stuff, right? And you make that decision on whether you want to accept it or not.
okay. And I got a little confused when you were talking about contingency, because we've spent 1.8 million so far, and plus the, you know, now the 60,000. And so we're still going to have to add the cost of the design, whether it's gonna be 100,000 or 600,000, right? We have to add that to that
Yeah.
cost, I'm assuming. Plus the 8% construction cost, that's not included in here.
The 8%.
Will there be an 8%
Oh,
construction cost?
Yeah, because you'll have to hire
Yeah.
somebody
Right.
to oversee to make sure you're getting it paid.
Okay, and then you mentioned contingency, and that's the part that got me confused, of what is the contingency, is
Well-
of which option?
Well, what contingencies are is we've done what I'll call a high-level estimate. I mean,
Okay.
you know, I've estimated based on what was previously designed, plus our experience, plus, you know, we got supplier quotes, all that kind of stuff. So it's a higher level estimate. So what we did is we've added for 10% all our numbers to say, I'm not perfect, and potentially if I've missed something, I've got this contingency to kind of cover that off. Now as an example, just going back to the costs here, this number, 18.6, it actually,
That had the contingency in it.
like the
Well,
K&L,
both of the previous ones did.
the K&L tender, if you take all the contingencies out, it was 16.7 for that.
Right.
Like, so they had about $2 million worth of contingencies, and it's all for unforeseen things.
Exactly.
And I mean, chances are that a typical contingency, at least on projects that we work on, is about 4 or 5%. Like typically, you have that kind of buffer and you never ever spend it. But
Yeah. So at one point, I think someone said that was a pretty good cost that we actually got.
oh, and honestly, when I went through the unit costs and like I broke down sort of square foot and for buildings and concrete, and they gave
They
K&L
gave
gave
us
you
a good
price.
A good price.
Like